a season riddled by injuries. Such high expectations coming into the season for this side, and they went nowhere near it in the end. Massive summer ahead to see who stays, who goes, and how much money you can get for certain players and the manager. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Players and YouTube channel, and welcome back for our Brentford season recap. A season riddled by injuries and in the end underperforming in many regards. Finished around the mid-table last season, and many thought, like myself, they could potentially break into the top half or just establish once again themselves as a mid-table side, but they went nowhere near that. And I guess when you have Kevin Schade, your main forward, out injured, Ivan Toney out for obvious betting ranges, out for a lot of the season, Rico Henry out injured as well. It just sort of was a theme of the season where they just constantly couldn't get their foot down and couldn't quite develop a stable side throughout the season. And as such, you end up escaping the relegation zone. They're in and around December time. They quite easily escape the relegation zone, but quite heavily underperformed this season, and would be quite disappointing for Thomas Frank and his staff there at Brentford. They wanted to probably kick on, develop a great side, a stable environment where they could try and maybe push for European football if they were lucky or not. But it feels like it's back to the drawing board again for the next season, see if they can once again establish themselves as that mid-table side in the Premier League. It's now 3 or 4 seasons now in the top flight. Next season, can they make that jump to be a competitive side once again? Or will this season just really haunt them and drag them back as they try and build for next season? And looking back at the season record, it was 10 wins, 9 draws and 19 losses, which left them on the 39 points in the 16th position. So again, as I said, quite safe in the end, but really underperforming for their standards. Coming to the best signing in the end probably was Mark Flecken, the £11 million signing, 7 clean sheets, makes a 3.1 saves per game. I was a bit questionable with him earlier, not quite the keeper I thought they needed or wanted. I thought Strakosha was a good option, but he underperformed as well, and ended up being Mark Flecken who took that number 1 spot and was relatively consistent throughout the year. I think it's pretty harsh in considering how disjointed they were and how not really solid they were defensively. We think of Brentford, we think of organisation, defensive structure, and throughout this season, I think that's where they let themselves down, not being solid enough at the back and conceding too many opportunities. And as such, Mark Flecken wasn't made out to be, I guess, a top keeper in terms of how he looked, and because of the expectation set by David Ryan, how consistent he was, it was always going to be a bit of a downgrade. But Mark Flecken did a fantastic job coming across from the Bundesliga to the Premier League and performed at quite a consistent level towards the midpoint to the end of the season. I was quite impressed with what he put up there. And again, for £11 million, I guess a fair amount, but I think he overachieved what that signing fee was for. So definitely someone to build around for the future, an established keeper now, and someone that knows how the league works. So expect to see him lift his performances again next season and maybe make that 7 clean sheets 10 or 12, and hopefully Brentford can try and return themselves to the mid-table there. Worst signing in the end, I think it was Nathan Collins, £23 million club record fee from Wolves. I had big raps around him. I was very excited to see him come across. I was very happy with what he did the season prior at Wolves, and I thought he could be massive for the centre-half group alongside maybe Pinnock or Aya, but ended up being really inconsistent. Had a few good games, but again, some mistakes in his game. He didn't look his stable self at the back, not as many appearances as well as I thought, and just really didn't live up to the hype in many regards. And I know that can sort of happen, a big money signing, coming across to a new club. Maybe it takes some time to get your feet wet and sort of stable yourself. So maybe next season we'll see the best of him, but this season, nowhere near the best of what we saw there at Wolves, and nowhere near the Nathan Collins, which I am used to, which is very comfortable in the ball, very good in closing down spaces and covering off with his physicality and his closing speed, and solid enough in the air. So maybe next season we see the best of him, but it wasn't awful from him. I think they're making it sound very harsh, but for a club record fee, it probably wasn't the turnaround which we thought and the production which we thought from him this season. Because once again, as I said, Brentford the last few seasons, we built on that defensive structure, that solidity, and the inability to be passed quite easily. And I think he just didn't have that ability to develop on that at Brentford, and in many regards maybe took away from that in the games he played. So big season, big off season for him. Hopefully coming back next season and establish himself once again as one of those top up-and-coming Premier League centre-halves. That brings us now to the moment of the season. It has to be Ivan Toney's return game. The big hype around it, the massive build-up, storms in the crowd there. And, they got off to a poor start against Nottingham Forest, who were fighting to try and stay up. At that point in time, both teams, bit of a relegation 6-pointer, but Ivan Toney with the equaliser, little nifty move of the ball over the free kick there, puts the ball into the back of the net from the free kick to make it 2-2, and eventually Brentford win the game 3-2. Massive result at that time of the season. As I said, bit of a relegation 6-pointer versus Forest. Gets the win in his return. They were on the back of, I think, 5 or 4 losses in the Premier League. What a way to come back to winning ways. Him back on the score sheet, a fantastic free kick goal. And it just sort of made sure it sort of kicked them to life in the second half of the season, the back end of the season, and kept them well and truly safe for the back end, the run into the season. And they did it quite comfortably in the end. But it was good to see him come back and good to see him on the score sheet, because it almost felt like a last hurrah there in the last few weeks, because we know he should be going away this summer in a big money move away to either Premier League club or even somewhere else in Europe. So that for me go down as Brentford's moment of the season. The breakout player of the season for me is Keane Lewis-Potter. Again, not a crazy amount of output, still a very raw player for me, but showed signs. 3 goals, 1 assist, averaging the 6.71 match rating on SofaScore. But had a bit more ability to go out there on the pitch, with Mbeumo and Vissa missing periods of the season, Ivan Toney out for that suspension, Kevin Schade being injured as well. So he was required to play a lot of minutes, and as the season went on, you saw that end product start to develop, and I think there's a player to look for in the future. I feel like as a winger, probably not the way he'll end up playing most of his football. I think in behind as number 10 will be where he'll do his best work, just not quick enough for me on the flanks, but has got that sort of ability with the ball, his feet to skip past defenders, to use a bit of a body feint, use some quite smart skills to skip past players. I feel like he'll be quite a handy player to have in the number 10 spot. Again, had to play and had to be overexposed, I guess, a lot this season due to injuries and suspensions, but we've seen some good signs from him, and I feel like the output's developed. The final product is developing. That clinicalness in the final third to make the right choice and to put the ball in the back of the net will come over time. And I feel like he just got unlucky in points of the season, and his confidence was at a really low point with missing some big chances. So you get him in a fresh season next season, some new faces, fresh start, get into a great start of the season, and maybe that confidence keeps him going, because there's a real raw talent there, but some good signs there. I feel like a player to keep an eye on for next season to continue to develop his game, but something to be very, very excited about if you're a Brentford fan. Player of the season for me, toss up between Mbeumo and Vissa. I ended up going with Brian Mbeumo. The 9 goals, the 6 assists, averaging a 7.27 match rating. Whenever he was there, they were just electric. I know Vissa had a better end to the season in terms of his goal numbers, but Mbeumo is just that different level, right? He can be pivotal in the build-up. He can put them on the back of the net. He can find the pass. He can score himself, create for himself, and just consistently, he's the guy for this team, right? And when Vissa and Mbeumo are both there, they're fantastic. But I think Mbeumo is the real big difference maker for me. Vissa is more of a final end product to the play. He'll put the ball in the back of the net when you find him, but Vissa lacks that ability what Mbeumo does in terms of creating from midfield areas, can create from wider areas. Feel like he's pivotal. The ball has to go through him to end up in the back of the net. I think that's the simplest way to put it. Was fantastic for them when he played. You saw when he wasn't there, they just had that hole in the side. They like that real identity, and it has that pressing nature, so it can press from the front. He's a dangerous figure, and someone they'll hope to keep fit for more often than not next season, because when he plays, such a winner, makes a difference at Brentford, and is so important for them going forward. So he was my player of the season for them. Now coming to priorities next season, number 1 being keep Thomas Frank. He says he's happy there, but with all the manager movements, with Chelsea now without a manager, Manchester United potentially without a manager, Bayern Munich looking for managers, potentially taking away from Burnley, and all this manager carousel, merry-go-round, God knows what's going to happen coming next season. There's going to be a lot of manager movement. So it's important, number 1, for Brentford, keep Thomas Frank. He is such a great manager, organised his team so well. I think this season's not on him. It's just a lot of injuries, players not performing to their levels, and just a bit all over the place. But he kept them up. He gets another year in the Premier League. You bring in a few more players. You have a bit more consistent availability from key players. You can go back there and contest for mid-table. So I think number 1 has to be back Thomas Frank, a superb manager. Definitely one of the top 10 managers in the Premier League, and has got a great mind and sees the game well and can control games. He's an in-game manager. He can manage games well during games and can adapt to situations. So you have to keep him on board. Second thing is to refine that home form. Make the G-Tech a real dominating part of your season. Season before, very, very good at home. This season really struggled to make that place a fortress. So I feel like that's the key. Make the G-Tech a fortress. Win your home games. You end up automatically flying up that table. Too many games dropped at home. Too many inconsistencies at home. Again, players coming back will improve that. More consistent availability will improve that, but you've got to find that home form. That's going to be the basis, the minimum for next season. Refine some home form, and that'll be propelling you up the table. That will keep you into 13th, 12th on the ladder if you can win sort of 9 to 10 games, I guess, ideally. But even you win 7 to 8 at home, you don't lose too many. You only drop 2 or 3 at home. That means you got a really solid base for the season to come. So I think that's going to be the goal for Brentford, because they're a very hard team normally to play at home. Remember, beat Arsenal at home early on with one of the early wins at the GTEC in the Premier League. They've challenged Man United. They caused Man United problems multiple times at the GTEC. Caused Liverpool problems at the GTEC this season in the Premier League. So it's a very hard place to go and travel. Make that place a fortress once again. Win more games at home. It'll go a long way to improving next season. And then the third priority is implement Kevin Schade somewhere, because we know Ivan Toney's going to be in the out. You've got to find Kevin Schade, young German forward, got all the real raw features we think will make a really good striker. The similar mold to Joshua Zertsky. Can you implement him well? Can you get him being a part of the build-up player? Can you get him in the end of some great balls in the area? Can he be that dynamic runner in behind? And can he get some confidence up? We know these young strikers, if they miss a few chances, can get low on confidence. The Premier League is a ruthless league, so you've got to find a way to get this guy confidence, get him acclimated to the side, get him implemented, and get him firing. Because if he starts firing and filling the boots of Ivan Toney, it'll go a long way to Brentford to get them back where they deserve to be. Because I feel like the mid-table from sort of 10th to 14th is where that Brentford side should sit on paper when everyone's available. They're a very solid side. They're a dangerous side at home. They've got a great manager with a great minds and some great moment players in Burmo, Vista, when Sade's fit and firing. I look at that Norgard midfield with Vitor Janelt. You've got Collins on that side. Mark Flecken, another season under his belt. You get Rico Henry back. It just feels like that'll be a side that can push on to secure mid-table football. So it's very important you get Kevin Schade acclimated, you get him implementing this side and getting comfortable in this system here that they're trying to play, considering he was out from basically all of the season this year. With that all being said, their season grade, it's got to be a D in many regards. A massive drop-off from the season before. You're telling me a mid-table side jumps all the way to 16th, and I know the injuries weren't there, but you've got to find a way to be more ruthless and contest. And the Premier League's like that. A lot of teams go through injury problems, but it's how you respond. I feel like it just wasn't good enough for me for Brentford this season. They lacked that defensive identity. They lacked that home form. They lacked that nitty-gritty to grind out results when they weren't playing great football. And as such, I've given them a D. A lot of room to go and bounce back next season. It's important to have a big summer. They keep players fit and they bounce back next season. But there's definitely ability there. There's definitely signs there. And with the manager they've got with Thomas Frank, there's definitely ability to bounce back. It's just how they go in such a competitive leg next season, especially with the teams coming up. You think of Ipswich, you think of Leicester, two teams that are going to make it hard to beat as well. So very interesting to see how they land next season. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Have I got these calls right? How do you grade Brentford season? Who's Brentford's player of the season for you? Let me know that all in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, please smash a like on it, subscribe to the Players Zone channel for more videos like these, and press that post notification bell so you know we upload more videos like these and podcasts to come in the future as we approach the Euros and the Copa America. So excited for that. Thanks for joining me, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the upcoming football, and I'll see you guys in a video very, very soon. Till then, guys, see you later.